Good morning, everybody. Top of the morning to you guys. First off, obviously, happy Martin Luther King Day. We're going to get into that a little bit later on in the program. We got some big announcements. Today on the show, we're going to be talking about how a Babylon teacher was allowed to, allegedly, I say allegedly, everyone deserves due process in this country, was allegedly allowed to sexually harass students for years despite credible complaints. We're going to get into why that was allowed to happen. Spoiler alert, it has a lot to do with the teachers' unions and the fact that they're allowed to do pretty much whatever the hell they want. Also, we're going to get into Kathy Hochul being the only person on planet Earth who wants affordable housing complexes put up on Long Island and the response from many of our local elected officials on that. And then we're going to get to the legacy of Martin Luther King and why I think he'd be pretty upset. I think he would be pretty upset at all the crap that's going on today, considering it went against everything he stood for and everything he believed. But before we get started, guys, head on over to loudmajorityus.com, sign up for the newsletter, check out our shop, use promo code 50OFF, that's 50 off for 50% off the entire website. We're having a big clearance sale so we can start bringing in some new stuff for the new season, so we appreciate the support. That's the best way to support what we've got going on here at the Loud Majority. As you know, this is a user-funded show, so we appreciate all the support that you guys are giving out. Also, if you're on Rumble, smash that Rumble button, share this URL across all of your social media platforms. If you're on Facebook, hit that like button. Tag some of your friends in the chat. Invite them to like the page because I've got some big news. I've got some very big news coming up, but you're going to have to wait a little bit for that. This week, I will be interviewing the man who saved America. The man who saved America. That's going to be coming out on Friday. If you want early access to that show, to the interview with the man who saved America, you're going to need to head on over to rumble.com/LFATV, sign up there, hit subscribe, smash the Rumble button for all of our shows over there. That interview is going to be running on Thursday over on LFA TV, so I appreciate all of you guys heading over there. It'll be airing on this channel on Friday morning, and it will be airing Thursday afternoon over on LFA TV. So head on over to rumble.com/LFA TV. But the top story today, only in Newsday, shockingly enough, I don't know why it's not being covered by other channels or other news outlets, but Babylon schools kept teacher accused of sexual harassment on the payroll for years. And you know this is a big deal because Newsday put 3 reporters on it, considering they only have about 10 reporters. That's half the newsroom. This from Newsday. The Babylon School District kept a teacher employed for more than a decade until his retirement, despite credible complaints he sexually harassed 7 female student-athletes, records show. Newsday, while looking into the sexual misconduct accusations leveled against nearly a dozen current and former Babylon junior and senior high school teachers, obtained Barry Goldshall's disciplinary record from the district last month through a Freedom of Information law request. The documents detail how Babylon dealt with sexual harassment complaints against the teacher years before former students blamed the district during a school board meeting in November of 2021 for mishandling the allegations. The alumni, in continuous hours-long meeting, accused Goldshall, I believe I'm saying that right, I don't really care because he's a creep, and other teachers of sexual misconduct, allegations that led to the state's attorney, Letitia James, to launch an investigation. Finally, Letitia James is launching an investigation into something that actually matters. She's not launching investigations into sexual harassment in her office. No. She's only sitting back waiting to see what crime she can pin on Donald Trump. So I'm very happy that she's actually doing something here when it matters. See, what I find unbelievable about many of these sexual harassment claims that go on in our schools, or many of the bad teachers that currently teach in many of our junior and senior high schools, is that most people don't understand that it is so expensive to fire bad teachers in the state of New York. Many people have put the number somewhere around $500,000 it costs to fire a bad teacher because of union contracts and severance pay and all the stuff that they have to do, all the legal proceedings that the unions make these schools go through to get rid of bad teachers. These teacher unions have far too much power over our lives, and there's really nothing we can do about it because most politicians don't have the stones to stand up to the teachers unions because they're afraid of losing votes or political contributions. The fact of the matter is that most politicians have got their hands in the pockets of the teachers union, and the teachers unions are obviously reciprocal to that. This back to the article. James' office said this week that the probe continues. Babylon already had opened its own investigation into current employees by attorney Christopher Powers. He said in an email this week that the probe is also ongoing. The district initially responded to the allegations in November of 2021 by placing 5 teachers on paid leave. 5 teachers. The district said this week that 3 teachers remain on administrative reassignment and declined to provide further details. 5 teachers at once. And first off, paid leave, placed on paid leave for sexual harassment allegations. This is the crap that gets written into these teachers' unions contracts. That if you get accused of sexual harassment, if you get accused of sexual assault against a student, you basically get a vacation. A vacation. It's unbelievable that these people get to sit home, get paid while under these sorts of accusations. Look, I have no problem making people stay home without pay, and then if they're found to be with no wrongdoing, giving them back pay. However, there is absolutely no reason why this investigation should have gone on for all of this time. What is this, November of 2021? So what is that? 15 months? 15 months, these 5 teachers got to stay home and get paid? It's unbelievable, particularly when there are credible accusations against many of these teachers, and the school did nothing. The school did nothing for a reason. The school did nothing because they can't do anything, because the teachers unions have so much power over these schools and over these school administrators that they don't really care. See, what you have to understand about a union, and I'm sure there are many people watching this in the chat right now who are members of unions, who are in unions. I've been in 3 unions in my life. I totally understand the way it works. I want to say hello to the Cool Kids table over there on Rumble. But unions are there to negotiate for their members against someone. They're there to negotiate for their members on behalf against someone. So who are teachers' unions negotiating against? The schools? The students? The taxpayer? Who are they negotiating against? Because all the teachers' unions care about is doing what's right for their members, which I completely understand. The electrical union does the same thing. The carpenters' union, the butchers' union, the teamsters' union, they negotiate for their members. But who are the teachers' unions negotiating against? Is it the quality of the schools? Is it the taxpayer? Is it the students themselves? Because the fact is, right now, this teacher, particularly this Gold Soul, whatever the hell his name is, should have been booted right away. This, back to the article. The 20 pages of records Newsday obtained about Goldshaw showed that the girls' tennis team members told the school he had spoken to them in sexual terms, kissed their head, played with their hair, held their shoulders, hips, and waist while teaching them tennis serves. The complaints were filed during the 2006 tennis season. 2006. You got to be shitting me. 2006, these complaints were filed. Goldshaw coached the tennis team and taught special ed at the Babylon Junior Senior High School at the time. This is on 2006. I was a sophomore in high school. sophomore in high school. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable that this kind of crap was able to go on for this long. And nothing was done about it. Nothing was done about it. Absolutely nothing. This back from the article. 7 female students made allegations against you that constituted sexual harassment. The investigation concluded that these allegations were credible. This was a letter to Barry Goldshaw from then Babylon Superintendent Elaine Best-Lamit, obtained in a FOIL request by Newsday. Goldshaw retired in 2018 at a salary of $145,000 after 30 years of employment in the district, primarily at the Babylon Junior Senior High School, according to his personnel records. He surrendered his teacher's license in 2001, but the state education department would not tell Newsday why, citing privacy restrictions. No shit. No show. So this guy taught for 30 years. 30 years this guy taught for. And allegations go back to 2006. Something tells me if Newsday dug a little bit deeper, started talking to some older students, perhaps students my age, there may be more than 7 credible accusations, because you don't just start this stuff 15 years into your career. That's not how this game works. That's not how predators work. A predator is a predator every day of the week. We've seen it throughout any sort of person in any sort of position of power, particularly amongst young people. A 2007 reprimand letter from Babylon's then superintendent Elaine Best-Lamont said administrators already had counseled him about sexual harassment before the flurry of complaints from tennis players, and described the students' allegations as consistent and coherent. So it's good to know that these students were a hell of a lot more credible than some of the complaints that we've gotten in the past through politics, like Christine Blasey Ford, who just made shit up as she went along. These students, however, had credible and consistent complaints, and nothing was done about it. Nothing was done about it. Because it turns out if you go after the right people, nobody cares. Teachers can be accused of anything with almost... And look, I loved my teachers in school. Teachers do great work. I am not taking a dump on teachers. Believe me. For every piece of crap teacher out there, I'm sure there's 10,000 phenomenal ones. 100,000 phenomenal ones. But the important part of this is we need to get back to a time where we could actually fire bad teachers, fire creepy teachers, fire tennis coaches who are rubbing girls' hips to teach them how to serve. You know, it's wild, because right when this story broke, about 15 years ago, when this guy, back in 2001, 15 months ago, when this story broke, if you went on some of these Babylon Town pages and Babylon alumni pages, there were Facebook comments after Facebook comments about how creepy this guy was. And apparently, judging by, and I'm sure the chat can speak to this better than I can, everyone knew this was happening. Everybody knew this was happening, and no one did anything about it. For years. This guy was able to retire with a 30-year teaching pension on Long Island. I cannot imagine how much, let's just say it's 75% of his final salary. 75% of $150,000? What is that? $110,000 a year in retirement for the rest of his life? How old is this piece of crap? 63. He'll probably live another 20 years on this. Of course, he did not respond to Newsday, despite their multiple comments. The district did not pursue his termination, instead negotiating a 3-month suspension with his union representative, according to a 2007 settlement agreement signed by Goldshaw and then school board president. 3 months. Wow. 3 months. I hope you didn't hurt yourself, Babylon. Teachers union. I hope you guys had a real hard time negotiating that deal. A 3-month suspension for 7 credible assaults. 7 credible assaults. He should have been fired, and his license should have been revoked. Former student, I'm not going to say her name. Again, I'm not going to say her name. 32 years old, said Goldshaw tried to kiss her while she was in 9th grade and touched her inappropriately as a coach. This person said she had reported the kiss to a guidance counselor during the school's investigation into Goldshaw a year later, but alleges the school never informed her parents. An investigation with the Attorney General's office interviewed this person twice. She said, "They failed us. They failed to keep us safe." Another former tennis player, whose name I won't say, said Goldshaw inappropriately touched her Under the guise of helping her athletic form, she didn't report it because she said his misbehavior was widely known and normalized. These are two former students, 32 years old, right around my age. I probably know these two people. Probably ran into them in Babylon Village at some point. And to know they had to undergo this under the guise of athletic performance. There's always these athletic coaches. Like, what the hell was that guy's name from Michigan State that raped all those girls? The gymnastics coach. We really got to start. We as a culture really have to start paying better attention to the people that we allow around our children, particularly in this current environment where we're seeing groomers left and right. Can't say that on YouTube. That's going to be a strike. Where we allow people into our schools that have certain ideas about what should be going on in the schools in terms of sexuality with our kids. Goldshaw denied the accusations as well as any recollection of having been counseled in the past regarding these issues, particularly ones related to sexual harassment. The 2007 letter said. In a statement, current Babylon School Board President Carol Della Arba said this week that she and her fellow board members regard the past staff behavior alleged by former students and members of the Babylon community as abhorrent and unacceptable. In the past 15 months, one Babylon teacher resigned and agreed to never seek employment at a school nationwide. Another high school teacher was arrested on charges of rape. So it turns out if your kid went to Babylon over the course of the last 10, 15, 20 years, this is not good. This seems to be rampant at Babylon. And this is not a big school. The Babylon, it's a junior high school and a senior high school at the same time. Everybody knows where it is. If you've ever been to Babylon Village, it's right across the street from the train station. You got to drive past it every time. It is a stain on our district, and it will continue to expand every effort possible to rectify, the school board president said. This school enrolls about 1,500 students. There's a picture of this creepy-looking piece of shit in Newsday today. Very good. Confused and disappointment. The two students, when shown Goldshaw's disciplinary documents that Newsday obtained, said that they were not among the 7 who complained to the school about him. So the 2 people that are cited here in Newsday are not even among the 7 who complained about this guy. This is an unbelievable story coming out of the Babylon School District. This student, again, whose name I won't say, a sophomore at the time, said she was interviewed as part of the school's investigation into Goldshaw in 2006, but was never told the full extent of the inquiry into him or his discipline. The 2007 letter said that Goldshaw faced complaints from nearly 20 current and former students that also included allegations he failed to properly supervise his special education students. This is... what are we doing here? The fact that in 2007, he already had 20 people out with allegations against him. Why wasn't he kicked out after the first one? I don't understand it, this accuser said, adding that she was confused and disappointed by the discipline. Reading the documents, this person said, it makes me sick. The other alleged accuser said that she was shocked that Goldshaw continued teaching and retired with benefits after the investigation found that 7 students' complaints were credible. How did this not go further? Why were the police not involved? That is a fantastic question. See, what happens in a lot of these cases is the school will get together with the teachers' union, much the same way we saw in the Boston case. If anyone's seen the movie Spotlight, when it comes to a lot of these predators, the institution will get together with the complainant and they will settle things outside of the legal process. This way, there's no there's no hubbub about it. This way, no one really knows, and they hope that the situation just goes away. Then board president Daryl Conway said this month that Suffolk police were not involved, and he does not recall any conversations about whether to contact law enforcement. The district filed disciplinary charges with the state education department, but later declined to pursue Goldshaw's dismissal because officials did not think a state-appointed arbitrator would rule in their favor. Of course they wouldn't, because the arbitrators, once they get out of government, are probably looking for jobs as lawyers at the teachers union. That's the way this game is played. It's inside outside baseball. It doesn't matter whether it's on a school board level or it's on a Twitter and a federal government level. On a federal government level, people leave the FBI and they go work at Twitter. New York State Department of Education arbitrators leave their government job and get some cushy gig working for the teachers union. This is the way the game is played. So people don't want to make waves because most of the time it sets themselves up for the next gig. Conway 66 of Babylon said state law limited their ability to fire Goldshaw despite what he termed despicable behavior, and said that the state's teachers' disciplinary system should make it easier to terminate educators facing credible sexual harassment charges, or as I call it, no shit. This back to the article. If it was in the private sector, he would have been fired that minute, Conway said. Unfortunately, the system we have protects actions like that. You're damn right it does. You're damn right it does. It protects bad teachers. It protects creepy teachers. It protects teachers who aren't doing their job. And I will say it again. I'll scream it from the high heavens. I'll stand on top of my office and yell it as far as I possibly can. I'm not dogging on teachers. I had some of the best teachers in the world in both of the high schools I attended. They were fantastic people. They helped me through some really tough times. Awesome people. What I'm saying is that if the teachers union wants to regain credibility with the students, with the communities, they need to start making examples of bad teachers. They need to start making examples of these people, saying that this sort of behavior will not be tolerated. Will not be tolerated. Back to the article. Instead, the board negotiated discipline that included a 3-month suspension, a permanent ban from coaching, and a requirement that he obtain the superintendent's approval before attending after-school activities, even as a spectator. Wow. Talk about a slap on the wrist for this. Talk about a slap on the wrist for this guy. This is so nauseating. It is so nauseating that these people are allowed to continue teaching in our schools. In our schools. 20 complaints. 20 complaints over the years. How many didn't get reported? That's my question. How many complaints were never reported against this piece of crap? And sure enough, he gets to retire, full benefits, full pension. He was even allowed to play out his days as a teacher in order to get his full benefits. This is one of the most nauseating things I've ever seen. Newsday asked 3 experts who specialize in education law and policies and teacher misconduct to review the documents, and each questioned the Babylon's handling of the allegations. David Thompson, a professor of educational leadership and policy studies at the University of Texas at San Antonio, said that the Babylon community members should reasonably question the district's commitment to maintaining an environment that takes complaints of educator sexual misconduct with the seriousness that these complaints deserve. David Bloomfield, an educator at the Brooklyn College and the CUNY Graduate Center, said, "I am surprised by the length to which the district increased administrative burdens for him to remain on staff. The district made special accommodations to work around his misconduct. It is an internal dance of the lemons." You're damn right it is. You're damn right it is. The school districts may avoid firing a teacher because of time and expense, experts say. I won't say that I'm an expert, but I said it before. As an example, it took a Long Beach district more than 4 years to fire a special education teacher, Lisa Weissman, in 2019 and paid her $650,000 in salary and benefits while accumulating $320,000 in legal bills during the time, the district said. That's unbelievable. Just to fire one teacher, they had to pay her $650,000 in salary and rack up more than $300,000 in legal bills just to get rid of a bad teacher. This is a systemic problem. This is a systemic problem, and if you're watching this from the teachers union, because I know you watch this show because you guys follow us around like creepy. Never mind. You guys follow us around all the time. This is why nobody trusts you. This is why people do not trust people like Weingarten or whatever the hell her name is at the teachers union, because when you're advocating for bad teachers, you're advocating against good students. This is This is absolutely disgusting. Before we move on to Kathy Hochul and her terrible housing plan, once again, guys, if you're on Rumble, smash that Rumble button. Share this URL across all of your platforms. If you're on Facebook, make sure you guys hit that like button. Invite some of your friends to like the page so that they can find out what's going on, particularly, apparently, if you have any friends whose kids go to the Babylon School District, because apparently they're just out there screwing up the world, bowing to the teachers' unions, doing nothing to protect the kids. 20 years. 20 years this has been going on for. Since I was in middle school. Going to school right up the block from these animals. Nobody did a thing. Nobody did a thing. Also, guys, once again, if you head on over to loudmajorityus.com, sign up for the newsletter, check out our shop, use promo code 50OFF. That's 50 off for 50% off every single thing on the website. Big clearance sale, making way for some new stuff as the summer is coming around the mountain. It's really cold outside, but the nice weather will be here soon. So you guys want to pick up anything, grab it now. Promo code 50OFF. That's 50OFF. Also, Friday morning, big interview with the man who saved America. I'm not telling you who it is yet, but I've said his name numerous times in the context of the man who saved America, so I'm sure you can figure out who it is. If you want early access to that interview, make sure you head on over to rumble.com/LFATV. That's Lima Foxtrot Alpha TV for early access to that interview. That'll be airing Thursday at 1 p.m. on LFA TV. So head on over, hit that subscribe button, hit that Rumble button right now. Long Island officials express concern over Kathy Hochul's housing plan because it's a terrible idea. It's a terrible idea for a number of reasons. Number one, nobody wants it. Number two, we do not have the infrastructure to handle more housing on Long Island. We do not have the infrastructure to handle more apartment complexes on Long Island. It is hard enough to find parking out here. We do not need any more cars on the southern state at 4 p.m. We don't need any more cars on the LIE at 4 p.m. We don't need any cars on the northern state at 4 p.m. But Kathy Hochul doesn't know that because she lives in Buffalo. She doesn't care about Long Island. That's why it was so important to get a man like Lee Zeldin in the governor's mansion, because he knows what Long Island and the downstate needs. Instead, Kathy Hochul is going to govern. This is so important for you guys to understand. This is so important for people to understand. Kathy Hochul is going to govern Long Island like it's the 5 boroughs, because it's all the downstate to her. It's all the same thing. Westchester, Brooklyn, Queens, Suffolk and Nassau, Manhattan, Staten Island, and the Bronx, they're all the same thing. And look, if you're from Long Island, many of us probably feel the same way about upstate. You know, we often make, people like to crack jokes about the upstate, about how it's all, apple orchards and how bad the Taconic Parkway sucks. It's a little upstate, downstate thing. I don't expect Kathy Hochul to be able to understand Long Island because, A, she's not here enough, and B, we don't really want her here, as she got to find out during the last snowstorm when she showed up at the Department of Transportation to about 500 of us outside, letting her know just how much she sucks. Back to this Newsday article. Long Island elected officials expressed concern Wednesday over Kathy Hochul's plan to add 800,000 housing units statewide over the next decade, in part by setting local targets and fast-tracking projects in areas that don't meet them in the next 3 years. The approach allows local governments to approve the types of housing they believe meet local needs, but carries the prospect that the state will step in if too few projects are approved. Nothing says liberal governance. Like, look, local entities, Smithtown, Babylon, Brookhaven. You guys handle this. I want you guys to have all the power here. But if you don't do what we say, then we're going to step in and push our views on you. Nothing says liberal governance like that, like giving people the power to make their own decisions, and then when they don't decide what you've predetermined you want them to make, to step in and do it. Several town supervisors told Newsday that they're still reviewing their proposal, but worried about how it could interfere with local control over zoning rules. The proposal was part of Hochul's State of the State speech Tuesday, and it will be several weeks before she releases more detail on her proposed budget. The proposal is subject to negotiation with the state legislature, which, of course, is controlled by Democrats because we were unable to pick up more state Senate seats. Of course, that's going to change in 2024. You can bet your ass on that one. I plan on taking the state Senate away from this evil, evil woman. The goal is to address... Don't worry, the article didn't say that. I said that. The goal is to address a shortage of housing, particularly in the suburbs around New York City, where Hochul said job creation has outpaced building and prevented people from finding homes. No, Kathy Hochul. Do you know what's prevented people from finding homes? Your terrible policies, your tax policy, your crime policy, because people do not want to live here. People do not want to live here. It is too expensive. They don't feel like having their homes shot up. That is what has prevented people from finding housing. How about the fact that Joe Biden, the president you love so much, and his Fed chair, Jerome Powell, continue to raise interest rates? That's why nobody's looking for housing. That's why you got 35-year-olds living at home still. Because the prospect of buying a home for people my age is something that is just out of their reach now. Because of the rise of interest rates. Because of the two-income trap. Because of numerous instances. Through zoning, local communities are able to hold an enormous power to block growth. Hochul said, haha, that's amazing. Through zoning, local communities are able to hold enormous power to block growth. What a statement. What leader in any county, in any town, in any village would want to block growth? We don't want to block growth. We just don't want apartment complexes on every one of our main streets. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that I think Long Island has enough Avalon buildings, okay? There's one on every single corner. I think we have enough old folks' homes. I think we have enough of these big housing projects. We don't want any more of them, particularly because a lot of these housing projects cost, I don't know, $3,000 for a one-bedroom. They just put up one in Lindenhurst it's $3,000 a month for a one-bedroom, but you get to share a pool with about 1,000 people. That's exciting. Back to the article. Between full-on bans of multifamily homes and erroneous zoning and approval processes, they make it difficult, almost impossible, to build homes. No one would have any problem with building single-family, single-occupancy homes, particularly out east. There's enough land out there. Upstate, people are trying to build houses left and right, but you want multifamily housing because under your ridiculous zoning policies, if you want to build multifamily housing, you've got to make a certain portion of it low income. How do you think that works for neighborly cohesiveness when one person on one side of the hall is paying $3,000 a month and the person on the other side of the hallway is paying $600 a month, subsidized by the state? That's what happens. Huntington Supervisor Ed Smith said that he expects the town will exceed the governor's goals, but it will be done without the governor's heavy-handed involvement. All right. Huntington was highlighted by the governor's office this week as lagging behind other areas in housing production. Smith questions Hochul's suggestion that Huntington had added less than 1,000 housing units in the past decade compared to 91,000 units added in Brooklyn. Well, no shit. Huntington's much smaller than Brooklyn. And not to mention, I don't know if you live up in Huntington, but there's not a whole hell of a lot of room. See, this is what she wants. See, because if you put a single occupancy home on a block, that's one family. If you put multifamily there, you could build up and up and up and up and up. All the way to the sky. Like Co-op City. You ever driven to the Bronx and seen that? You want that in your backyard? And I'm not one of these NIMBY people that sits back and says, oh, we need more of this, just not here. What I'm saying is that there's a reason why we are the suburbs. If we wanted to live in an urban setting, we would move to Queens. As a matter of fact, a lot of our parents left Brooklyn and Queens because they wanted grass, because they wanted a backyard. That was the whole point of leaving Queens, leaving Long Island City, leaving Brooklyn, leaving Staten Island. Back to the article, he said that the town is exploring converting vacant office parks in Melville to include residential units. Got no problem with that. Up 110, up Pine Lawn Road. Let's do that. There's no such thing as development in Huntington. There's only redevelopment in Huntington, Smith said. Whenever something new is built, Something is coming down. Oyster Bay Supervisor Joe Saladino said he worried how the governor's proposal would impact local control and potentially restrict the will of the people. He said the increasing population can lead to other concerns, from the environment to parking to schools. Well, of course, because Long Island doesn't have the infrastructure to build multifamily housing units, particularly on the North Shore where there's no sewers. Sewers are going in, but you can't build multifamily units in a place that only has septic tanks. They'd be filled up in about 20 minutes. We know how to manage our own communities, and we know how to listen to our residents, Saladino said. We're afraid that this policy and this proposal would take all of it away, and it's just not the right way to treat residents. Their voice truly counts. Well, Joe Saladino is always the one with the right plan. Suffolk County Executive Steve Bellone said he supports the plan. Of course he supports the plan, because Democrats fall in line. Democrats never question anything. Democrats always stand behind each other. They don't sit there and look at a person who does a little bit of wrong, like Marjorie Taylor Greene, voting for Kevin McCarthy, and suddenly cast them asunder. They don't do that over on the Democratic side. Bruce Blakeman didn't immediately respond for comment, but if you've been anywhere near the Nassau County building in Mineola on Old Country Road, they certainly know something about multifamily housing units over there. Drive down Old Country Road by Roosevelt Field Mall around dinner time. Let me know how many times you get stuck at the exact same light. Long Island was not built for this many people. Long Island was not built for this many people. And what I find unbelievable about this entire thing is that while New York is losing population at a higher rate than any other state in the country, Kathy Hochul's worried about housing? There's plenty of houses available, Governor Hochul. Why don't you head down to D.C. and tell your buddy Joe Biden to tell his friend Jerome Powell to lower the interest rates or stop spending so inflation isn't out of control? Because right now, the fact of the matter is, houses on Long Island are just way too damn expensive. They're way too expensive. Who the hell would buy a home right now? I think I saw an article in Newsday the other day that new home purchases in December were, for the month of December, was one of the lowest in history. Why would you buy a home? If you're locked in at 2%, if you're locked in at a 2% interest rate, and you're looking to upgrade somewhere on Long Island, maybe you want to move to another neighborhood, maybe you got a kid, you want to get a little bigger house, and then you're looking at interest rates of 6-7%, why the hell would you move? That's why new housing purchases are at its lowest of all time. Because of national policy. Because of local taxes. We pay some of the highest taxes in the country. And we do that because we want backyards. We want front yards. Little white picket fences. Let the dog run around a little bit. That's the whole point of Long Island. But when you have a governor from Buffalo who doesn't understand Long Island, this is what you get. This back to the article. The governor's proposal calls for cities, towns, and villages across the state to achieve certain goals for Long Island. The target is that is a 3% increase in new homes over 3 years, which translates into about 38,218 new single-family homes, apartments, and other types of housing. Well, the problem is that putting single-family homes up, there ain't enough room for it, so the only thing you're going to be able to do is sell condos. We don't need any more of that, Governor Hochul. By comparison, in 2018 to 2020, the number of new housing units on Long Island increased by just 0.5%, far short of the 3% goal set for 2023 and 2025. Long Island had the lowest growth rate among 10 Long Island regions, according to information shared by the governor's office. By that measure, just 4% of Long Island localities would have met the proposed standard if it had been in place at the time. Well, yeah, because it turns out Long Island is densely populated enough. We want our single-family homes, but the fact is, there's just nowhere to put them unless you go all the way out. East. Think about it. If you live in Long Beach, where you building a home? Where you building a home? You're gonna build it on the sand? If you live down on the South Shore, where I live, where you putting the house? There's no land down there. None at all. It's unbelievable, but this is what happens. Brookhaven Supervisor Ed Romaine, I'm sure you'll be hearing his name a lot over the course of the next year, said he is reserving judgment until more details are released by the governor's office. While he acknowledged the need for housing, he said that the state would provide help funding infrastructure projects such as sewer system and roads that would be necessary to support the addition of the housing. Of course, because without all of that, you can't add new housing. If the state is trying to control local zoning, it's not going to work, he said. What is going to work is a dialogue between towns and villages that control zoning and the governor working with them towards a solution. Hochul proposed a $250 million infrastructure fund and a $20 million for planning as municipalities look to meet their housing goal. I don't know what the hell that's going to do. Romaine noted that building a sewer district in the Mastic-Shirley area, which is expected to serve nearly 1,900 homes and 150 businesses, would cost about $228 million. So just to build sewers for 2,000 homes is still more money than Kathy Hochul has put forth. Because, of course, that's what Democrats do. They put forth a mandate, expect you to pay for it, even though you don't want it, and then force their will upon you when you don't. Sewers are more expensive than people think, he said. Smithtown Supervisor Ed Wareheim said that he's reviewing the governor's housing plan with the town attorney's office, but said it's problematic for a higher level of government to override local zoning. Obviously, that's why everything's better in Smithtown. He highlighted the ongoing development of apartment complexes in Smithtown and acknowledged that there is a need for housing on Long Island. He noted that solutions also need to be addressed that solutions also need to address accompanying issues like traffic, wastewater, and public transportation. Because here's the thing. Here's one thing that nobody talks about on Long Island. We have a solid waste problem here on Long Island. We got a whole bunch of garbage, and we got no place to put it. And the fact of the matter is that when this starts to pile up, this will be an unsolvable problem. The problem is that nobody wants to talk about solid waste management because, quite frankly, that is the least sexy thing on planet Earth. The least sexy thing on planet Earth. Local governments would have less flexibility in evaluating projects near railroad stations. Hochul said she would require localities to rezone areas within half a mile of a train station for residential use unless the area already allows for 25 housing units per acre. 25 housing units per acre. Yep, that's apartment complexes. That's her way of saying it without saying it. Literally everybody weighed in. Jay Schneiderman of Southampton. Oh, yeah, okay. I got news for you. If you think they're putting apartment complexes in Southampton, I got a bridge to sell you. Because I got news for you. This is only going to go into one place and one place only, and that's poor neighborhoods. You really think they're putting up apartment complexes in East Hampton? You really think they're going to allow their taxpayers like Joy Behar and Chris Cuomo to deal with all that traffic? That's why it's so much fun doing our Montauk run every year. Because we get to piss off the yuppie liberals who come out from New York City and destroy our beautiful Long Island. Liberals need to leave Long Island as far as I'm concerned. Town supervisor of Riverhead, Yvette Aguilar, who had gotten off a call with other Long Island leaders and state officials regarding Hochul's announcement, said the town is open to discussing the subject. Aguilar mentioned that the town had a substantial amount of affordable housing, and if the town needed to work to support local young professionals and young homeowners through more affordable housing options, then we would certainly be working with the governor's office in that regard. But that's the problem. What is affordable housing? When Democrats say affordable housing, they mean subsidized housing. And when you get subsidized housing, you get nicer buildings. You get buildings that are real nice for the first 10 years. Then for the next 10 years, they're a little bit waning. And then 10 years after that, they are run down. You get asbestos. You get lead poisoning. You get burst pipes that nobody fixes. Every time the government builds any sort of housing, anytime you leave housing to the government to build, this is what you get. Why don't we loosen up New York State zoning laws so that private builders can come in? Private builders can come in, build homes out on the East End. There's plenty of room out there. I can think of one place in particular that liberals certainly would not like to build on, but I won't mention that here because they will get very, very upset. Obviously, guys, we are rolling in on 9 o'clock. Once again, if you're on Rumble, smash that Rumble button. Share this video out. Sorry, across all your platforms. If you're on Facebook, hit that like button. Share this video out into all your groups. Tag some friends. Invite some friends to like the page. Obviously, today is Martin Luther King Day. We honor someone that truly changed the world. Changed the world with his wise words, and we all know the "I Had a Dream" speech, which has really been morphed in the last couple of years. Content over character over color. Now we have people who are thought leaders in the Democratic Party, thought leaders of the left, people like Ibram Kendi, people like Joy Reid, who think that skin color is all that should matter, and that we should initially look at skin color. Personally, I'm one of Martin Luther King that says content of character over color. I looked up some interesting Martin Luther King quotes, and it's stuff we talk about all the time. It's stuff we talk about all the time about being silent, about not speaking up, about not telling the truth, about not saying the things that we know to be true for fear of reprisal or fear of cancellation. Our lives begin to end the day. I'm sorry. Our lives begin. Nope. Got that. Our lives begin to end the day we become silent about the things that matter. If you're silent about the stuff that matters, what the hell does it really matter for? In the end, we will remember not the words of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. I tell you what, if you guys have some free time today, I would go back and watch the entire "I Have a Dream" speech, because first off, A, it's a monumental moment in American history. But B, just for his oratory skills, for his ability to speak in public, it's something to be admired. It's something to be admired. We honor a great man today, a great man who saw injustice and stood up to it. The arc of history is long, but it bends towards justice. One of his most famous quotes. Unfortunately, right now we live in a world where a lot of people, a lot of race hustlers, a lot of idiots of the left believe that race is all that matters. You're starting to see segregated dorms at colleges being pushed by the woke left. Separate graduations for black and white students. We are regressing in history, folks. We are regressing in history. The English social philosopher Douglas Murray talks all the time about how equality is like a train pulling up to a station. And we were almost there for everybody. We almost got to the train platform. And then for some reason, we shot off down the end of the track. We had almost reached full equality. We had almost gotten there. Obviously, there will never not be instances of bigotry in this world. And we should all call them out when they happen, on one side or on the other. Anytime something bad happens to anybody based on immutable characteristics, something should be called out by everyone. However, now the word racist, now the word bigot, now all these disgusting words get thrown out there so flippantly by people who have no idea what racism actually is. You'd think if Dr. King were still alive, he'd be on your side on this one? I don't think so. You think Dr. King would be happy that NYU is having graduations, one for black students, one for white students? Do you think he would be happy that some of the colleges have black-only spaces? He would have hated that. He absolutely would have hated that. We are regressing in history. And we're doing it at the cost of the taxpayer. Because people like Ibram Kendi work for public institutions. It's unbelievable. I don't know how we got here, but it's time to get back to some sanity. It's time to get back to a world that Dr. King wanted. So we honor Dr. Martin Luther King today, federal holiday as well. It should be. We're pulling up on 9 o'clock, guys. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Share this video out across all of your platforms. I'll be back later at 1 o'clock, rumble.com/LFATV. That's rumble.com/LFATV. Got a big show for you. Once again, guys, this Friday, if you're watching on Facebook, if you're watching on this Rumble channel, we're going to have a big interview with the man who saved America. I'm sure you can figure out who that is. The Prince of Long Island, Long Island's favorite son. You can pick whoever you want there. But if you want to tune in early, guys, you have to go on to Rumble, rumble.com/LFATV. Sign up there. That interview will air Thursday at 1 o'clock. You're going to want to see it there. Once again, head on over to loudmajorityus.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out the shop. Use promo code 50OFF. That's 50 off for 50% off everything on the website. I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. One more. Let's see. Who is this? Who we got here? Thank you, Discuss Queen. I really appreciate the support. That's the best way to support this channel. Picking up a t-shirt, hitting those Rumble rants. I really appreciate it. This is a user-driven show. You guys support this show, and I cannot thank you enough for it. Look at that, Barry. You're actually right on something. And MD Norton, your Eagles are going down next week. Let's go, Giants. Guys, it's 9:01. I'm signing off. I will see you guys later. LFA TV. That's rumble.com/LFA TV. And don't forget, guys, tune in every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday for the We Will Not Comply podcast for all of your local information. Guys, I'll see you later today. Stay loud.